Wassalamu alaikum. We've been having some tough times of it lately, haven't we, with coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever you like to call it. Social distancing, having to stay at home, lockdown, no one in the malls at Manama or at the lagoon at Amwash. Tough times, but surprisingly some benefits do come out of adversity, and we've found that. One thing noticed around the world with the lockdown situations is that waters are generally clearer, skies are bluer, there's less pollution, and less emissions of the sort that you'd really want. The other thing that's happened in our field of education, training, learning, is that we've had the chance to experiment with electronic learning, e-learning, remote learning, virtual learning. Call it what you like, they're all much the same thing. So in other words, we're talking about learning through the web using computers and other electronic devices. And we've found that that exploration of cyberspace has opened up the doors of what are traditionally our sort of four-walled classrooms and allowed us perhaps to explore a lot wider than we normally would have, and in many different types of ways. Let's have a think about that. Traditional learning, as we've known it, has too often been in a sort of locked up situation in the four walls of a classroom or training room, often with a teacher or a trainer just standing at the front, in front of rows and columns of desks and chairs, and talking for the best part of an hour or more with very little activity from the learners, who themselves, of course, are typically getting bored out of their brains and preferring that they'd be somewhere else. Well, we do have better examples, of course, of what happens in training rooms and classrooms, but as I say, that's very much too much the traditional thing, and it still happens to some extent today. So when we get out into e-learning, we've had to experiment a bit recently, haven't we? To just find ways of not being quite so teacher or trainer centered, but finding ways of questioning and answering, making sure the people out there are present and participating, sharing ideas themselves, given the chance between sessions of exploring cyberspace, coming back with answers to problems. And it's given us new perspective on the possibilities and the opening up of learning. But let's be realistic about this. Looking down the track, looking down further when in fact COVID-19, coronavirus, might have departed our shores and things are back to something like normal, it won't be a matter of thinking, is it a question of either the sort of four-walled traditional training or education versus electronic learning? No, it's going to be, and here's the big hope and here's the opportunity, it's going to be a really good mixture of both, isn't it? The fact that by unlocking our classrooms and making a significant part of the learning out there in cyberspace, using the web, using our devices, the sorts of things that our digital natives of today, the younger learners, have been born with virtually in their hands, smartphones, other devices. They're used to them. So it's a matter of just converting that into genuinely deep learning and doing that in combination with what we can do in our classrooms. So let's get these combinations together. It's what we're calling blended learning nowadays, often, isn't it? And another major term is open learning, and that's really getting back to the topic that I've discussed in the short telecast here, and that is the idea that we're opening up, we're unlocking the typically sort of locked doors of our classrooms and training rooms. We're opening them up, we're giving more options and a wider range of learner-centered opportunities. So there it is, all the best for the future, and ma salama.